Scarcity is one of the most damaging, one of the most toxic state of mind that you can live in. It's highly infectious. It corrodes your thought, your energy, your perception, who you are. Your whole entire relationship with life, with people, with money, with abundance completely changes. The more you live in scarcity, the harder it is to get out of it, because energy creates everything. If you perceive life through the lens of lack, through the lens it's never enough or just enough to get by, you're gonna be stuck in that vicious cycle, trying to create more abundance, creating more money, getting more things and so on. But everything that you perceive, everything that you focus on, everything that you resonate with is through the lens of it's never enough. And when your entire mindset and focus and belief and perception of life or money and time and abundance and all these things is through the lens of it's never enough, you are always going to find yourself in a situation where it's never enough. And I know that because I used to be stuck in that state for a long time, especially in regard to money, because abundance is not simply, money. It's also time, it's also energy, it's also love, it's people, it's peace of mind, it's things, it's so many things, right? It's not just about money, but for a lot of us it's highly linked to money. I was stuck in that state where it's just never enough money. Or if I had money, what if I lose it? What if I don't have enough? And so surely enough, I would always just have enough to get by. And when I would get more money and more clients and things were going, then I would spiral back into that anxiety, back into that obsessive thought, obsessive focus. And sure enough, I will find my way drifting away from money and going back in this situation of scarcity where I had to go back and make more money and chase more. And that vicious cycle was never stopping. But you know what I really wanted? It was not more money. What you have to understand is that on the other side, the trade-off, what I was really chasing, what we always chase on the other side of scarcity, is the relief, the sense of safety, security, stability, freedom. That's what we really are after. But we go about it the wrong way, because I was waiting for money, for clients, for a situation to change my state. I was waiting for something to change my state, and that never happened. And if you've been watching this video, if you've been following me, you know that if you don't become a match to what you want to create, if you don't change the way you show up in your life, nothing ever is going to change. Because I tried to create more abundance to scarcity. I was working harder, I was buying courses, I was doing all the right thing, and I was still getting the same old results. So if it did work, it would have worked a long time ago. But things only started to change when I started to let go of the state of scarcity and reprogram my mind to a state of abundance, to a state of more than enough. And that is a big shift that you have to make. You cannot wait for abundance to find you, or for love to find you, or for those things that you're chasing externally to find you before you change your state. It's the number one biggest mistake. You give too much attention. You let your mind loop in the old state, in the old state of mind, in the old habitual pattern, and you wonder why you keep on creating the same old pattern. So abundance starts when you start changing your perception in relationship to everything that you link around abundance and scarcity right now. So one of the mantra, one of the thought I was using back then and still now is to just affirm, or to train myself to see that I have more than enough. That I always have more than enough money, I have more than enough time, more than enough idea, more than enough energy, more than enough love, more than enough support. I have more than enough. And when I could not find maybe evidence in my own life, I would look around, the cars that are coming by, the building, the skyscraper, the road, everywhere. There's more than enough abundance. There's more than enough clients. There's more than enough opportunity. There's more than enough. Instead of being hyper focused on the lack, on there's never enough, I trained myself to retake control of the way I was focusing, on where my attention was going, where my train of thought, where my belief was going, and to just look at all the abundance around me, whether it was my own. I have money for for all my bill, for the rent, for all those things, and I still have money. Thank you, I have more than enough. I always have more than enough. Or I would look at externally, people who demonstrate abundance, things that represent abundance, air, water, things, money, cars, all these things. I was constantly trying to give my attention there, to remind myself that there is abundance everywhere and that I always have more than enough. Now, why more than enough instead of a certain number, instead of a millionaire or this or that? because that's what felt the most aligned for me. It felt like the direct opposite of what I was spinning in my own mind. And I also felt like if I limit myself to a certain number, then I'm focused again on a certain number. I'm focused on chasing a certain number, a certain metric, a certain outcome. And I didn't want to go back into chasing something secretly. What I wanted to create was really the feeling, the state. And you know that when you emotionally shift, when your energy shift, you know the difference between scarcity and the difference between abundance. And this is why I said earlier that what you really want is not maybe that number or that thing or that bag of money, although that's pretty cool and that's great. But how do I feel when I have it? How do I feel when I don't have it? How do I feel now? That's the metric. That's when you know if you made the shift or where you are. So if you feel a state of contraction, that's scarcity, right? If you think about money or the bill or things that you have to do, or you overthinking about paying something or paying too much about certain things, which I used to do all the time, and you go into a state of contraction, you know you're operating from the old state of consciousness. And so when I was starting to train myself into a new mind, into a new state, I would look at how am I feeling, and I was aiming for a state of expansion, meaning either calmness or abundance or relief or safe or neutral, but some form of energy going outward, expansion. Because that's one easy way to calibrate where you are emotionally at any given moment. Am I in a state of contraction or a state of expansion? And so that mantra, along with other exercise and reprogramming my relationship with money and so on, dramatically had a massive shift in going from the scarcity into abundance. Now, that also means that you need to start showing up in your life differently. The way you pay your bill, the way you go about money, the way you learn about money, all those things, if we talk about money as well, right? You cannot just change your thoughts and your energy and so on. You gotta show up in your life differently. For example, I had one of my clients, and she was stuck in that scarcity. She wanted to get a raise at her work for a long time. And so she figured that if I work harder, if I do good and I reach my KPI, I do all the right thing, then the raise will come. But unfortunately, she was working for a local company, and the local mindset was that if you don't ask, you're never gonna get it. Doesn't make sense? So for years, she didn't ask for the raise, and she was bitter, and she was anxious, and she was working too much, and she started to be like, the only way is for me to leave, to resign, find a better job where they pay me more. But the problem is that I actually like what I do. I like the environment, I like my coworkers, I like things, but I'm tired of just getting paid this. And so when we were working together, I said, well, have you ever asked? No. And she told me no, and then she gave me all the reason. Because if I said no and this and that, she was seeing the lens of the company to the lenses of like, maybe I'm not working hard enough, or they don't have enough money, or maybe I get fired, or this is gonna happen, or this and that. She was programmed to always believe that maybe I didn't work hard enough, or I didn't deserve it enough, otherwise it would have come to me already, which is also a state of scarcity, undermining your own worth. So for her, the shift from scarcity into abundance was to start to see her own worth and to ask for it. So she had to go physically take action, face one of her fear, which is the point I'm trying to make. You also have to go in your life and do what needs to be done. If you want to create a YouTube channel or a podcast or your own side business or find a new job and so on, you have to create a state of abundance where there is all the opportunity, the right element, everything that you want, but you also have to show up and do it. The YouTube channel or the job or the interview is not just gonna, come and knock on your door. This is the part where you act as the person who is abundant now. Work as an abundant being, stand as an abundant being, pick up the phone like an abundant being, demonstrate that you are worthy of that abundance that you seek. And that will anchor in your physical reality the shift into abundance. But everything starts first in your perception, because if you're stuck in there is never enough, whether it's about money, your worthiness, how you feel, time, energy, whatever it is, if you're stuck in scarcity, you're always going to find an excuse not to do certain things. You're always going to be anxious and overthinking, and you're always going to be in a state that is never going to lead you to take the right action, the right energy, the right opportunities. So shift your attention first, create a state of expansion where there's always more than enough. Start focusing on everything, there's more than enough. And then follow that energy, take the right step, and you will see abundance starting to come and flow into your reality. Let me know what you think. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time. Be well.